This is the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. It is August 24th, 2022. It is 3:01 p.m. and our first order of business will be a call to order and a roll call vote. So Linda Escobedo.
Yep, present.
Mike Lawson, not here yet. We're expecting him. Rich Feely.
Present.
Carrie LaFleur.
Present.
Present, and Keith Bergman present. Okay, so 4 of us are here, and we also have, dare I say, our regulars, Liz Rust, Marcia Rasmussen, Stefan Bader, and Ray Andrews. So thanks for being with us. We will have a hard stop of 4 p.m. Today for this meeting because lots of folks on the call have other commitments, and I appreciate their being here. And I'd say as well, we had scheduled this meeting on August 24th, back when we thought the subject of Christopher Heights might be coming up on the select board's agenda of August 29th, and wanted to have a chance to be brief before that meeting. That, as we'll find out, or as we're aware now, it's coming up later than that. It'll be on September 12th. And the 19th, so which gives us some breathing room and gives everybody, I think, some breathing room to get ready for that meeting. But there's a lot that we need to can brief each other on to catch up, and we'll try to do all those things in the 1 hour that we have together here. So next item is approval of minutes, and I had submitted to the trust members 2 sets of draft minutes from August 10th and August 15th. I did receive back a comment from Rich regarding the August 10th minutes to include a reference, which he mentioned during the meeting, and I failed to put in the draft, that this was regarding the $50,000 for design phase for Assabet River Bluff. Richard indicated that the Concord Housing Foundation had $50,000 in its funds, which could be tapped for that purpose. So I've added that language into the draft minutes. I didn't get any other comments on either set. I don't know if
So Keith, thank you for continuing to do these minutes and capture so much as you do. I would just one minor suggestion on the August 10th minutes, the 3rd page, 5th paragraph, 2nd line, where you're talking about the closing for Assabet River Bluffs. Do you see that 3rd page, 5th paragraph, 2nd line?
Regarding Assabet River Bluff?
Yeah, the closing.
Yes.
Okay, so I would just suggest that, you talk about closing for the 7-acre Assabet River Bluff property occurred on August 9th, 2022. Right. And I would just add the words "and filed."
Oh, excellent. Yeah, that's a great point. That was, in fact, that is what August 9th indicates. That's when it was filed at the registry.
Yeah, then
so thank you. I'll make that change. Thanks very much, and congratulations again on to CHDC and all those that pulled that together. So that's great. Is there then a motion to approve both sets of minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Rich and a second by Linda. Is there further discussion? All right, roll call vote. Linda?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
And Keith, aye. So that's 4-0. I don't know if someone else might be able to text or reach out to Mike Lawson, just in case that
I can.
he was having difficulty finding the link or something. So Great. Very good. Next item is update on Christopher Heights Junction Village. And as I say, our agenda item says prepare for the select board meeting. Take a deep breath because there's now more time for that. And what we also have been doing is outreach to all town boards and potential partners. I'll start by mentioning that pursuant to the trust vote of August 15th, I did send a letter to the select board voicing the trust support of funding for Christopher Heights. That was emailed to each of the select board members the next day. And it was, as it was to the chairs of all town boards, asking for them to distribute it to their board members. That's what our motion of the 15th of August had requested. We also posted it on the town website. It's there now. And you recall we met on the 15th of August in order to be able to have a letter that I could talk about at the August 17th monthly Concord Chairs Breakfast. So it was mentioned. Some of the feedback was, one question was not everyone was sure where Christopher Heights was. And so to what I have been, so I made a point of, I'm going to show you where it is. That it is in the center of this map. It is the 12-acre site that is to the south of MCI Concord. It is abutted on the west by the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. It is at the end of, has a street address of at the end of Winthrop Street, and it's owned by the Concord Housing Development Corporation. For additional information, there's additional information about Christopher Heights that's at the town's website. If you click one of the first items here, you'll get a set of plans. I found a set of plans from 2016, and that here's a site plan that is that old, which shows a crossing from Winthrop Street over to the property. So for folks who were wondering where it was, I thought I would put it there, and if we could put a picture up somewhere on the town website, I think that would help folks as well. But we're we're aware that CHDC is now asked for a time on the select board's agenda for September 12th for a project update, and I think for September 19th for a policy decision, because we're looking at a September funding round. So I wonder if we could have Liz or Marcia just to maybe give us an update on next steps. I know I'm glad to hear there's a staff level meeting that some of us are invited to for this Friday to discuss sewer issues, and that's great. That's an important discussion involving the Public Works Department, the engineer, and the developer, so that we're all on the same page. And thank you for arranging that. So who'd like to start off maybe on where we are in next steps? Liz, thanks so much.
Yep. Hi, everybody. Liz Rust here. I'm going to give you an update from the CHDC and the project team's perspective. I think a number of things are going on. One, relative to the time frame, Dhcd has not issued their notice of funding availability. So it's not going to be a September decision for the town. It's going to be, I think that now we're thinking it's going to be more like October, but we'll have more information soon. So I don't know that the I doubt that there'll be 2 meetings at the select board in September, and I think the CHTC is still determining when best to do a project update. So haven't retracted those requests from the select board, but don't intend to really require agenda time on both the 12th or the 19th. So this is just, and some of this information is new as of yesterday and all that. So we're just still operating. There is a meeting scheduled on the 1st of September with Kate Racer from Dhcd. And so a number of people from the town are attending. So that's she's really gone out of her way to schedule a half hour for the town. And I think there'll be an opportunity to ask. I think the questions that people are looking for is, what are you asking for the town? Making sure that she's aware that the town's already made some commitments so Carrie, that's at 11 o'clock. I see you looking, maybe you're looking at your calendar. So you must have had so many emails on this very topic while you were on vacation, but I'm sure for many other topics as well. Anyways, it's the 1st at 11 o'clock. Yes. So, what is the ask from Dhcd? Dhcd is really generating this request. And also, what are other towns doing in this for this sort of second level request, if you will, or this? And basically the question is how to boost the scoring of Christopher Heights from a Dhcd perspective. What will it take to get Dhcd to commit the funds needed for the project? I mean, that's really the end goal here, right? So we understand that it's more town funds, and we understand that, but this would be good to hear from her directly on that. So that's scheduled for the 1st. So that's a good piece. The other thing that's happened, which is tangentially related, is the passage of the climate bill with the provision in there for the pilot program for 10 communities to go forward with banning is probably not the right word, but not allowing fossil fuel right in there for new construction. And so Keith did some analysis here. So there we go. So those 10 communities to be in the pilot have to achieve a safe harbor, whether it's the SHI 10%. The bill seems to indicate that it's really 10% as of 2012-21, right there. But neither Anderson and Krieger or KP Law will say that definitively in what I know. They're waiting. Regulations haven't come out. So, but anyway, that Concord is best served to be in safe harbor throughout the next 2 years to be able to participate in this pilot, just to be sure. So I don't know, maybe Carrie, it looks like you might have some more information on that you want to share, or no? It looked like you were maybe ready to talk, but maybe not.
Oh, I think the only thing that I wanted to say is that we did submit a letter indicating our interest. I know the select board members have seen that, but that just went out yesterday. Keith, I'll be sending a copy to you for this group, and Marcia, you probably haven't even seen it yet because it hasn't gone out to SMT, but that'll go out. So, we have indicated our interest in participating in the pilot program.
Good, thank you. So I think you could maybe, I was going to move on, Keith. Yep, there you go. So that's just, it highlights the.
Before we did though, I just wanted to give a shout out to the Regional Housing Services Office, because if you didn't notice, those 10 communities, 4 of them are our HSO communities. So how about that?
How about
I'm
that?
just talking to someone about
Yeah.
better input. So thank you.
It's interesting. I haven't really seen, and be interesting in that pilot program. Thank you, Stefan. Of whether, if that goes through, does it apply to Christopher Heights? No fossil fuel, because that's not the current design of the project, and would really add to the cost. So, there's another opportunity for local participation to assist the project. So
probably
we'll see.
depends on when the building permit is issued, and where the program, the program will come out July 1, I'm sorry, program regulations for the demonstration project will come out July 1, 2023. So
No later than, right?
So we don't know, right?
Oh,
We're
nice.
just saying, we don't know how these dates and these will
There's a-
all
there's a
dovetail,
lot-
but something
yeah,
to keep our eye out on.
yeah, in
something to
fact,
keep our eye on.
the larger issue is affordable housing projects per se, and whether those be exempt, because that's been
exactly.
something that has been of concern to MAPC and others.
Yep, I mean, it cuts both ways, of
Yeah.
course.
Thanks.
So anyway, so that's something else that's gone on since we last had a status update. And I did want to say also that Keith mentioned, right, to, explore, hooking up to the town sewer, which goes right up to that property, but doesn't, the property doesn't have the frontage, so the sewer would have to be extended into that. But when we look at the map, it looks, it's pretty close. It doesn't have to extend far, but still it has to extend. Anyway, so there's further complexities in policy and technical and all of that. And
Well,
Marcia, yes,
Yeah, I just want to say it's technical. It's about whether there is sufficient size in the existing sewer pipe to take this additional flow.
Yeah.
And that is critical because if we have to replace all of the sewer in Commonwealth Ave all the way to the pumping station over on Main Street, that is a significant cost that is unrelated to this project.
Sure.
And would have to be done before we could even consider extending the sewer. And so that's the issue that we need to explore this Friday.
so that's a really important issue. Of course, we can all understand it, the impact there. And even if that was not an issue, I think there still remains the question of whether the town would want to add this to, and make this kind of exception. So that still stands irrespective of the capacity that Marcia, so two big important pieces. And there was two reasons to propose connecting to the sewer. One was, I'm going to say casually or informally thought that it would be a cheaper way to satisfy the gap, but that might in fact not be true because of what we just heard. But also time-wise, it would be much quicker. So the non-connecting to the sewer, the building of the system requires full DEP approval prior to pulling the building permits, and the DEP approval is probably a year or something. So, I mean, it's really some significant, and that wouldn't start until the project funding was in place. So once the project funding is in place, including this gap piece, then, then work would go on to do that DEP piece. So it was a scheduling aspect as well. There was a scheduling impact to putting that together, to putting whatever, building it on site, sorry, and knowing the desire to pull those building permits quickly, it interfered with that timeline. So that was another aspect to this sewer versus on-site system. None of them are easy questions, but just to give both sides. And it was sort of priced, if you will, the project with the on-site system has a $1.3 million gap. So that's where that's sort of moving along, albeit slowly. But the sewer, connecting to the sewer, and that feels, maybe that's not practical, possible, cost effective, all of those reasons. And then it would go back to, what's the town's interest? I'm just use that word interest to satisfying the gap and going with an on-site system. Just the plain old providing funding. So that's still there, but I think we have a few other layers to work through to see what options there might be before crystallizing that. And Yeah, so I think that the funding application is probably due back to DHCD at the end of October. That's what the going thought is now. So the decision would be, a couple of weeks before that, just to make sure that all the paperwork can get done. So decision would be, depending on which solution, the appropriate vote and confirmation of said vote into the packet.
So Liz, are we expecting the LOI by the end of October or the actual application?
What do you mean the LOI?
Wasn't there a letter of intent that had to go in like a month prior to the?
No, so in this funding round, I think it's the actual one-stop application with supporting materials by the end of October.
Okay,
That's the current understanding. And until they submit, until DHCD really, provides their funding materials, that's what we're going to operate under.
okay.
Thanks for the update. Thanks for all the work that's being done to identify the issues that are needed to know what options the town really has. That it's appreciated very much, and most importantly, keeping it moving along. Any questions from anyone else? Okay. Oh, yes, Rich.
Well, my question is less of Liz. I mean, I think that outlines all the technical issues. What was the response from the committee chairs? I mean, did the environmentally oriented committees indicate any interest in helping us here, or was it just sort of too new to them for them to state one way or the other?
I think it's fair to say it was too new to by and large. That I sent it out the night before and got them before their first cup of coffee the next day. But I do think that continued outreach would be an important thing to do to pursue this. I know I had I think I reported last time, maybe not, but that Senator Mike
Barrett,
Barrett's legislative director had called me back or called back from a call that I placed to Mike the week before with some advice of what we ought to do, and which largely is, the town ought to put a letter in, and I'm glad to hear from Kerry that they've contacting DOR to make sure the town's interest is on record. Best case scenario for that fossil, and I'm talking about the fossil fuel free demonstration project. The most favorable reading of that statute from Concord's standpoint, although not for Mayor Wu's, would be that if you're at 10% as of December 2022, as the first sentence in the relevant section says, you're in. That's it. And I think by my count, it was that there were 7 of the 10 were above 10%, including us as of that date. Whether we stay above 10% 18 months thereafter, which is what the language that's referenced in the second sentence, we don't know, and that's sort of the problem. But I think there's certainly an opportunity there to build some partnerships with other groups. I hope we keep working on that. Great. All right, next item is Concord Housing Roundtable. It's scheduled for Tuesday, August 30th at 7 p.m. And
Keith, sorry,
yes.
sorry to interrupt. I'm just curious if there are any other takes on this or perspectives or information from anyone that might be helpful at this point before we move on.
I had one thought, and maybe Liz can answer this. When I looked at that date by which you had to be at 10%, I was assuming that that would be when the 2020 census finally comes out and we can recalculate. And if that's the case, we ain't at 10%.
Yeah, so there was the 12/21/20 date, and then there was 18 months after the bill was
Right.
signed. And I thought also that they didn't say that, but I thought, Rich, it was, after the 2020 census recalibrated the SHI, and that's how they picked that date. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know
what I
if
thought
that's,
too, and
yeah, that's
that
what came to
means-
mind, right?
we
Yeah.
aren't, unless there's a
And
miracle.
Acton also would be below 10% from the RHSO perspective at that time.
Yeah, it's,
And they, but yes, and so that's the reason to, to highlight it as related to, this project and creating more affordable housing. More and more of these things are combined, and the state is benefiting communities that have, that are in 10% and doing their housing work, if you will. Like the MBTA communities, or then this or that, but also these communities had put forward this legislation that was held back and not been able to go forward. And I think the state is looking to find out, what does it really take to do this? What is the real cost?
I found what the source of December 21, 2020, it's the last time the state did a comprehensive check. And it's on the state's website. If you go and see subsidized housing inventory, this is the report. And so December 21, 2020 is, which has us at, has Concord at 10 point, near the bottom, 10.5% as of that date. So we're above. And I think the legislator simply looked around and said, what list do we have with everybody on it? And the most recent list, and it happens to be that date. I think that's why December 21, 2020 is in that statute, because it refers to this list.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's the only meaning that it had.
No, in fact, the Dhcd did their biennial SHI update, in February. So they that's a formal process with every municipality to confirm their SHI. So there's better information, but whatever, it's a point in time. Yeah.
Right. Do I see
Stephen Bader has his hand up. Yeah.
Yeah, if I might, Liz, can you clarify, is the status of the DHCD's funding commitments, are they all canceled? Are they all withdrawn? Are they all null and void? How would you describe in a word what position they've taken? I just want
I think that any of those words can describe the situation. The project needs to apply again. The prior funding commitments are no longer honored.
Okay.
In fact, the state has a list of projects that have funding approved that they haven't closed yet. They call them the pending projects, and this project has been removed from that list.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm on Nantucket. I was having coffee recently, and it kept bumping into Tucker Holland, their housing director here, and they have Nantucket has a similar project that was in the queue to be funded, but now needs some serious money to be a player. So fortunately, it was not the Housing Nantucket 22 units that the nonprofit I help with is working on. So very good. Other questions before we move on then? Great. The Concord Housing Roundtable, Tuesday, August 30th at 7. It will be on Zoom. Each of the housing groups will have a chance to update folks on what they're doing. There are a couple of things that I wanted to talk about with on behalf of the trust. And it's well, Christopher Heights, of course, is on our list of concerns, but also report back on our discussions we've had in recent months about trying to prioritize what the best use of housing dollars would be, particularly mindful that we'll be coming up on a Community Preservation Act funding application deadline on September 16th. That's why we're meeting on we have the roundtable on August 30th, so that if there's a group think of what we ought to apply for, that there's time to fill out an application. As I mentioned at the last meeting, I think my take on it is that we've come to a consensus. Priority 1 is Christopher Heights Junction Village. Priority 2 is Assabet River Bluff. And I would mention that funding for both of those, or dare I say, funding for neither of those should be sought, in my opinion, in the upcoming CPA funding round, because that means the next annual town meeting in May, and that the money that's needed for these projects to move forward needs to be, as we've been told, needs to be in place before then. So we should be looking at to meet those two top priorities. We should be looking at use with the select board use of ARPA funds for that. If 1.3 million is needed for Christopher Heights, or 1.5 even, the trust only has $1,080,000, so that there's a delta that I think could only be meant by use of ARPA funds, even if we have not committed the full use of our funds. Maybe we'd be happier with a 50-50 split or something between ARPA and trust funds. Whatever it might be, though, the funds are a total of 1.3 to 1.5 is needed in funds that are available this fall, without going back to, dare I say, without going back to town meeting, unless somehow town meeting becomes an issue. Assabet River Bluff, as I mentioned when we were correcting the minutes, sounds like if 50,000 is needed, the Concord Housing Foundation might be a source of funding that could be tapped, so that CHDC could proceed with the design funds. In any event, it looks like those two top priorities are ones that should be advanced through other funds. Hi, Mike Lawson. Thanks for.
Sorry, doctor's appointment ran long. Sorry.
Thanks for being here. Sorry, we're glad you're with us, and hope you're doing well, Mike.
I'm fine.
I think we'd want to talk about we'd also want to talk about what would CPA funding be sought for in the coming year. And for that, I think the trust itself should take a hard look at what funding, and unless someone thinks we're going to, well, if we could get another round of ARPA funds from the select board to fund us for another year, or if free cash could fund us for another year. And if the answer to either of those is no, or probably not, I think we need to look at how much money we might want to request from the CPA ourselves. And along with understanding what other housing entities might be requesting of the Community Preservation Committee as well, because we don't want to be at cross purposes with our fellow entities. Hopefully we can come to a common understanding of how to proceed. And I for one would like to have that discussion when we're at our housing roundtable next week. Other thoughts or comments, and at the housing roundtable, there's going to be a good deal of time about the housing production plan goals and strategy. So that's another main, getting feedback from those groups in preparation for the September 14th Housing Production Plan Community Forum. So there'd be lots of times that we'll be meeting together as we on in the coming weeks, as we've been doing all summer. Any thoughts at all about expectations for the Housing Roundtable or from folks here?
Well, if I may, oh, go ahead.
Sure, please.
Marcia, you first,
Yeah.
please.
Well, I just wanted to, with regard to the goals and strategies for the housing production plan, my hope is that we can, rather than deal with each one and try to prioritize them, is to look at what the list incorporates. And I try to identify if there's anything missing that people are aware of or want to think about. As well, if there's anything that's not clear, sometimes we use jargon or language that isn't clear about what is intended. And so making sure that whatever we're putting in there as goals and strategies are clear to everyone who's participating in our conversation. Because given the interests of all the different groups and what they're going to be sharing, I really want to have a focused, like half an hour for those goals and strategies so that we have a crisp and easily understood list that we're sharing at the public forum in September.
Right. And if I read the agenda correctly, that will be the first item on our joint agenda. So any filibustering will not be done at your expense. So.
Correct.
Thanks so much. Any questions at all? Rich?
Well, I won't be able to participate next week, unfortunately, but I am thinking that we should go to, we or CHDC should go to CPA this year, because I don't think, I mean, there's no way you're going to build 5 units there without $500,000 in subsidy. And, you know, we may not know exactly what that number is because we don't have a developer, but you can always move, you know, you can subsidize them more deeply and it takes more money, or you can subsidize them a little more shallowly and you can get by. But, you know, given what I've seen as poor prospects for free cash, Carrie can correct me if I'm wrong, I would think that it's better to go for money to go into a defined project, one where we just bought the land, one where CHDC is on it, rather than going for, as much as I'd like to just have money in the trust, I think it's more saleable if it's to realize what we said we were going to do about Aspen Bluff.
I think the CHDC is looking at money for, you know, pre-permitting and permitting and maybe renovation, but really probably not more than $100,000, not for really the construction because they're not going to have that level of information, you know, in the next month, right? Like, because that's when the application is really due. So really just to further the efforts and maybe do along with the foundation money to get into the renovation of the existing home, but not the new construction, perhaps, you know, as things go. So that's what they're kind of thinking about, but they haven't met or voted. They're not meeting till the 14th. So it would be after the roundtable, but right before the CPA applications are due.
Okay, and you have 24-hour turnaround on putting an application together to CPC.
They have the most unbelievable staff working for them.
That's good. What? Yeah, Carrie.
So I don't have a whole lot of inside information on free cash, but I do think that the town would be in a position for $500,000 for free cash for affordable housing. I know we still have some to put in the middle school stabilization fund, but we did close out a number of older projects. So we had a little more of a closeout this year than we've had in prior years. And actually our revenue came in really well. We were conservative enough with our estimates that we were able to exceed those.
Well, that's great. Well done, Carrie. All right.
Yeah, it was all me.
By your town manager.
That's, wow, that's, put a smile on our faces, so, that's hopeful news, and thank you, thanks for, delivering that update. Mike, I just wanted to, let you know, we're gonna have a hard deadline of 4 o'clock today, because because there are other folks here, and we haven't taken any votes. We got a good update on next steps with the Christopher Heights, largely that we're probably looking at an October funding round, not September, for DHCD. There's a meeting that the town has with Kate Racer at DHCD on September 1st. The select board will be sometime later in September for their first briefing. So there's a little more breathing room than we thought we had, and as well as staff and consultant discussion on this Friday to talk about the sewer wastewater issues for the site. So things are in our questions are being asked and answered. So that's helpful news.
I do know that Christopher Heights came up last night at the CPC meeting. Wondering what the status of it was, given that they had supplied rather a substantial amount of money for that project.
Oh, for the open space portion, Mike?
So I would, yeah.
Or no, the actual $2 million portion.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Linda was there, I believe.
Yeah, I was there, and they are going to be focusing on unfinished projects that have been on the books for a number of years, and looking at what the status is, with the idea that they need to be closed, and they'd like to see access to that, the balance of money that has not yet been spent. So in that context, Christopher Heights Junction Village project rose to the top.
Yeah, sure, of course, yeah.
Yeah, because it's been on the books for so long,
Yeah.
and they're aware of all the other current activity that's going on related to the letter that was sent around. So that will be on their agenda next month.
Mhm.
Very good. And that's funny because Christopher Heights rises to the top of our list of ways to stay above 10%. So hopefully we'll all continue to work cooperatively together to get us across all the finish lines, spend all the money, close out the books, and stay safely above 10%. So great. And that updates us on the Housing Production Plan Community Forum as well. Or what I should say is that you can, that there was a notice that was sent out, a news notice through the town that went out yesterday announcing the Housing Production Plan Community Forum. It's on September 15th. You can sign up by going to the town website or going to any of the social media posts and hold your smartphone up to it and click, and it'll take you to the page to sign up to attend. And that'll be a virtual forum on September 14th at 7 p.m. Let's see. I think we're doing good on time. We're reaching public comment. If there's anyone who has anything to say. All right.
Keith, just a quick
Yeah,
question.
Stefan.
Thank you. Quick question on the production plan, housing production plan. Is there any kind of draft available for the public to look at before the night of the event? And will that be on the planning department's webpage or somebody else's webpage? Or did
No,
they-
Stefan, I mean,
Okay.
this event is to really talk about the goals and strategies, which then once those are kind of solidified, then the actual narrative will occur, you know, using those. So no, there's not a draft document yet to look at.
I thought there, Liz, the strategies, the goals and strategies, I got back when I signed up for the, I think when I signed up for the forum. There's definitely a document floating around.
Yes, of just the goals and strategies. I'm sorry.
just goals
It's
and
like it's a 4-page thing. I thought you were talking about something larger than that. Yes. And it was attached to the Housing Roundtable agenda packet that was sent out to the various committees.
Okay. All
So
right.
Stefan, I know I sent it to Stephanie and to Jen Polito, so I don't know if they've distributed it to your board yet, but I can send it to you as well.
We had a special meeting this afternoon, so they may have been holding until we were done with that. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Very good. Any other public comments? That Ray, thanks for being with us again. And our, we want to pick a time for our next trust meeting, perhaps 2 weeks from now. Sometime that the week of the week Labor Day is Monday, but and what's the first day of school? Is it the Wednesday after Labor Day, or am I showing my age by
10 days from yesterday.
Yeah.
It's actually 10:31, 8:31.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I was so then how would Wednesday, September 7th be at some convenient time for Carrie and Liz and Marcia? I don't know, 3 o'clock.
I'm not available past 3 o'clock, sorry.
And I can't make it the 7th. I could make it later on the 8th, 3 or 4 o'clock, or sometime on the 9th. But
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
can't
available.
make it on the 7th either.
How is the 8th, Thursday, the 8th?
3 or 4 o'clock works for me. I don't know if it does for other people.
4 o'clock works for me.
Or 4 o'clock, good for
Yeah.
everyone here? All right, so let's do Thursday, September 8th at 4 p.m. on Zoom. All right, that's great. Other upcoming meetings, as we talked about, the Housing Roundtable on August 30th at 7. Then Housing Production Plan Community Forum, Wednesday, September 14th. Funding, CPA funding applications are due Friday, September 16th. All right. We have reached the point of adjournment. So I would invite a motion.
Keith, I'll just announce
Yeah.
before you do that, if I may. Last week, the home dedication for 930 Main Street occurred, and there was very good crowd there to welcome the 2 new homeowners officially and families to their new home. And it looks really nice, all the work that they've done.
And I was,
And Minuteman
Wow.
Minuteman Media was also there to capture it.
took a while, but it was well worth it.
That's great. Well, congratulations to those folks. That's great.
And the request to add the units to the SHI has been made. So
Oh,
that's
good.
it.
All right. So now we're down to 18. Every bit helps,
the-
or
right.
whatever.
The Mill Run development, that lottery information is going to start soon, so that those units will be, that one unit is within 6 months from the SHI. Let me put it that way. So that's the last unit in our pipeline.
That's great. Thanks for those updates. All right, I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Second,
Motion by Mike, second by Rich. Roll call vote. Linda,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Rich,
aye.
Harry,
Um,
and Keith, aye. And so we're adjourned at 3:51 PM. And thank you all for being available today and giving us a chance to catch up to hear great promising news from all directions. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.